In today's video, I'll be recapping the evidence that was presented to the Tigerbelly team after the recent Tigerbelly podcast featuring Brendan Schaub. If you aren't familiar with everything that's happened, I have a playlist going where I've been documenting this entire Brendan Schaub drama situation, so definitely go check it out. But if you are up to speed, let's get right into this video, where we'll begin with a quick summary from Khalyla of what she was thinking after that Tigerbelly podcast.
You had Schaub on Tigerbelly yesterday? Can you please tell me
Wow, that's the first time we've heard his name on this podcast ever.
It's
ever been brought up.
I want to be super kind about this whole thing, because I think it did take a lot for him to sit in front of us. There was hardly any laughs. It was so tense. It was very uncomfortable. I was going in there thinking that he would just take responsibility for everything, but I still have a big mistrust for him, so we have a long way to go.
Really? Even after you had him on?
Yeah, and we talked about it on the show. I think I don't have any ill feeling towards him anymore, but there's still a lot of mistrust. And only because he's still not willing to admit that what we said on the show ultimately led to the whole spectacle that became the Reddit accusation. He's saying those are two different occurrences. But I'm like, Schaub, the timing is very strange, because it was only a couple days after our live show that the Reddit accusations came out and the slandering.
First off, it is pretty funny that Annie Letterman points out that this is the first time they've actually said Brendan Schaub's name on this podcast. People only really knew it was Brendan Schaub because they mentioned an unfunny comedian was hitting on them. And although the internet was pretty sure that they were talking about Brendan Schaub, it truly was speculation until everything became public recently. And I do believe that if Brendan just laid low after that initial Trash Tuesday podcast, Bobby Lee and Khalyla would have had zero reason to go and expose him on H3 like they did. But Brendan did go sicko mode, threatening legal action, talking about having a $500,000 lawyer, saying he has friends in bad places, to the point that they really had no option but to make this info public. After Khalyla's recap of the Tigerbelly episode, Annie Letterman provides us with some comedic relief, but it isn't hugely relevant to the reason why I'm sure most of you clicked this video, so I'm gonna jump right to the key moment where Khalyla speaks about the evidence that Brendan Schaub provided the Tigerbelly team after the podcast was off air.
So I also wanted to clarify for the audience that watched the Tigerbelly episode that Schaub said that he had 300 pages of evidence against us, but then it was never shown to us or our production team, even though I had continued to ask for it, right? But at the end of the show, he was like, I will show you after the show. But I'm like, well, my audience is not going to know what we've seen, so I'm putting this information on Trash Tuesday instead. What we saw was a very zoomed in photo of HTML codes, numbers, no context on a paper. And when you encircle something on your phone with red, it just said the company's email. And then he showed me another page, all HTML code, no context, completely zoomed in, and it said Robert Lee, which is not even Bobby's government name. We were supposed to update the audience on Tigerbelly, but we forgot. But those are the two things that I saw, and I was like, Brendan, this is a joke. This is a Mickey Mouse. Someone could have just sent you this. My mom could have just photoshopped this.
Oh boy. Okay, where do I even start with this? To recap from the Tigerbelly episode, Brendan Schaub wasn't comfortable with showing the evidence on the actual podcast. He waited until after the fact, and I really do think that it was to avoid even further confrontation and embarrassment from what was already happening on that podcast, but still, it is such a bad look to wait to show the evidence off air, because now it shows that he was trying to make sure fewer people would see this. There's obviously going to be a certain number of people that aren't going to get all that evidence unless they listen to this Trash Tuesday podcast, or unless they're invested enough to actually continue their search and continue following this story. And now let's talk about the evidence itself. You don't even need Photoshop to make your own HTML evidence. You literally just need a web browser, so I'll show you a little example right here. If you open up Google Chrome or any web browser and go to any website page, you can go ahead and highlight any element on the screen. In this example, I'll highlight some text from one of my previous YouTube videos, right-click and click Inspect. You can then dive into the code on the page and begin editing as you wish. This doesn't actually edit the website per se, because obviously you don't have the credentials to make those edits, but on your screen, you can make it show anything you want. So in this example, I changed my YouTube video title from being anti-Brendan Schaub to saying that Bobby Lee and Khalyla were harassing Brendan Schaub on Reddit, which obviously that isn't true, but I just wanted to show this example that HTML screenshots are such a bad type of evidence, and Brendan Schaub clearly doesn't know what he's doing here. And if that wasn't enough, I'll add that if you went to a website like Reddit and looked at the HTML source, you're not going to be able to find anyone's email address on there, or else it would be a huge privacy concern, obviously. So again, just Brendan Schaub has no clue what he's talking about here. And I know in the H3 podcast, Ethan mentioned that he doesn't think Brendan Schaub can read. And you know what? I'll give him that he can probably read English, but one thing I know for sure is he can't read HTML. And based on the evidence provided here, I don't think anyone on his team can either. So now that we've gotten to this point, I've been asking myself, what's next? Are there any other developments that are going to happen on this story? And honestly, I'm not sure, because it seems like Khalyla and Bobby and really everyone is kind of tapped out at this point. Like, all the info is out there, and I'm really not sure that we're going to get any more info, but you can all be assured that if there are any further developments to this story, I will be updating you all. And if there aren't any developments on the Brendan Schaub story, be assured I will be making more content in the future surrounding other internet drama, because I've really enjoyed covering this entire situation. And definitely stay tuned on this channel. I think this is only the start of something exciting. So if you enjoyed any of my videos so far, including this one, please be sure to like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And that's going to be it for me today, everybody. So take it easy. Peace.